For decades, we have been collectively hallucinating the wrong apocalypse. When we imagine the end of human dominance, we picture chrome skeletons crushing skulls under robotic heels. We picture Skynet, the Terminator, a kinetic war where machines hunt us through the ruins of our cities. This imagery, fed to us by Hollywood blockbusters and science fiction novels, has conditioned us to look for a physical threat, a violent uprising of metal and hydraulic fluid. Because we are looking for a robot holding a gun, we are completely missing the software agent quietly deleting our livelihoods. The threat isn't a humanoid robot that can do a backflip. It is a faceless, bodiless script running on a server farm in Northern Virginia. It doesn't want to kill you. It simply wants to complete a task more efficiently than you can, and in the pursuit of that efficiency, you are merely an obstacle of cost. We are currently witnessing the birth of the Agentic Era of artificial intelligence. To understand why this is the death knell for the middle-class economy, we must first understand the fundamental shift that has occurred in the last 24 months. We have moved past the era of the chatbot. The generative AI that dazzled the world in the early 2020s was passive. You typed a prompt, and it gave a response. It was a tool, like a very advanced calculator or a hyper-intelligent encyclopedia that required a human operator to function. It was a co-pilot, to use the marketing terminology of the tech giants, but the industry is rapidly shedding the co-pilot metaphor in favor of the autopilot. Enter the autonomous agent. Unlike a chatbot, an agent does not wait for a human to guide every step of the process. An agent is given a broad, high-level goal, such as build a website for a shoe brand, research this legal case and draft a motion, or optimize this supply chain. Once given that goal, the agent creates its own list of tasks, browses the internet, writes and executes code, reads files, and critiques its own work. If it encounters an error, it doesn't stop and ask the human for help. It debugs itself, tries a new strategy, and loops until the goal is achieved. This is the agentic loop. Perceive, think, act, learn. The implications of this shift are catastrophic for the current structure of the labor market. A chatbot helps a worker do their job faster. An agent is the worker. We are seeing the rise of auto-GPTs and recursive AI loops that can effectively simulate the cognitive processes of a junior developer, a paralegal, a copywriter, or a data analyst. These agents run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, do not need health insurance, and can be spun up or deleted instantly, depending on the company's needs. The danger here is the speed of integration. Physical robots are hard to deploy. You have to build them, ship them, maintain them, and teach them to navigate the chaotic physical world. It will be decades before a robot can fix your plumbing or tile your roof as cheaply as a human. But the white-collar world is entirely digital. It exists in the cloud, in emails, in spreadsheets, and in code repositories. We are standing on the precipice of a silent invasion, marked not by explosions but by the gradual disappearance of the tasks that define the modern middle class. The invisible hand of the market is about to be replaced by the invisible code of the agent, outpacing every economic model we have to understand it. The Terminator isn't coming for your life. The agent is coming for your utility, and in a capitalist system, once you lose your utility, you lose everything. To understand the economic carnage that is coming, we have to look at what actually constitutes the middle class in a modern Western economy. For the last century, the middle class has been defined by what we call the email class. These are the lawyers, the accountants, the middle managers, the coders, the HR representatives, and the administrators. Their value was never in physical labor. Their value was in cognitive processing. They were the friction reducers who took information from one place, processed it, formatted it, and moved it to another place. The economy paid these people a premium because, until now, biological brains were the only processors capable of handling nuance, context, and complex decision-making. But AI agents are specifically designed to destroy this friction, leading to what economists are beginning to call the Great Hollowing. We are not talking about a sudden moment where 50% of the workforce is fired on a Tuesday morning. The collapse of the middle-class economy will look like a hiring freeze that never ends. It is the phenomenon of silent attrition. When a senior accountant retires, they won't be replaced by a junior accountant. Instead, the firm will purchase a license for a specialized finance agent that costs $200 a month and can do the work of 3 juniors. This destroys the mechanism of upward mobility. The corporate ladder is based on an apprenticeship model where you start at the bottom doing the grunt work to learn the ropes. Eventually, you become a senior who manages the juniors, but AI agents excel at exactly that grunt work. If companies replace the entry-level tier with AI, how does anyone ever become a senior? The bottom rungs of the ladder are being sawed off. What remains is a barbell economy. On one end, you have the hyper-specialized, high-leverage elite, the people who own the AI, the top 1% of creative directors, the lead engineers who design the architecture. These people will become exponentially more productive and wealthy because they will command armies of digital agents. One senior engineer with a team of AI agents can do the work that used to require a department of 50 people. On the other end of the barbell, you have the jobs that AI cannot touch yet. The physical service economy comprised of plumbers, nurses, electricians, and construction workers. These jobs require dexterity, intuition in chaotic physical environments, and human touch. But here is the trap. As the white-collar middle class collapses, millions of former office workers will flood into the blue-collar trade market. Supply and demand dictates that when you have a surplus of labor, wages plummet, and we will see a race to the bottom driven by the refugees of the digital economy. This creates a society with no middle ground. You are either an owner of capital and computation, or you are fighting for scraps in the physical service sector. The middle, the safe, salaried corporate job, is an anomaly of the 20th century, created by a temporary scarcity of cognitive labor that is now gone. We are already seeing the early signs of this in the tech sector layoffs of 2024 and 2025. Companies are posting record profits while cutting staff. This is the decoupling of revenue from headcount. In the past, to make more money, a company had to hire more people, but now they need to reduce people and increase compute. If you eviscerate this class, you don't just have an employment crisis, you have a systemic collapse of the consumer economy. Who buys the iPhones, the cars, and the mortgages if an AI agent produces but does not buy? The logic of mass market capitalism eats itself when you remove the mass consumer from the equation. This economic displacement leads us to a terrifying sociological concept introduced by the historian Yuval Noah Harari: the rise of the useless class. Throughout history, the primary struggle of the working class has been against exploitation. Workers fought to be paid fairly for their labor. But exploitation presumes that the elite need you. In the 19th and 20th centuries, the captains of industry needed bodies in factories and soldiers in trenches. The masses had political leverage because they were the engine of the economy and the military. If the workers went on strike, the system collapsed. The AI revolution introduces a new, far darker dynamic: irrelevance. What happens when the global economic and political elite simply do not need the population to maintain their power or wealth? If wealth is generated by automated agents and autonomous systems, and security is maintained by automated drones and surveillance grids, the vast majority of human beings cease to be an economic resource and become an economic burden. To be useless in this context doesn't mean you are useless to your family or your community. It means you are useless to the economic system. You have no value to extract. This is a psychological and existential catastrophe. Work, for better or worse, has provided the structure for human meaning and social status for centuries. Without it, we face a crisis of identity on a global scale. The solution often proposed by Silicon Valley optimists is universal basic income, UBI, arguing that the AI owners will be so wealthy that they can simply pay everyone else a monthly stipend to stay alive. But we must look at this critically. In a world where you are dependent on a government check funded by a handful of tech monopolies, you are not a citizen. You are a dependent who has lost their political agency. UBI in this scenario becomes hush money, a way to keep the surplus population fed and sedated so they don't revolt. It transforms the population into a petting zoo of humanity, kept alive, comfortable perhaps, but stripped of purpose and power. And history teaches us that the elite rarely share wealth out of the goodness of their hearts. If the masses have no leverage, no ability to stop production, why would the elite maintain a high standard of living for them? It is far more likely that UBI will be a subsistence wage, just enough to prevent starvation, while the gap between the AI-owning class and the rest of humanity widens into a biological divide. Furthermore, we must consider the bread and circuses of the digital age. As the useless class grows, the system will need to manage their boredom and frustration. We are likely to see a massive acceleration in immersive entertainment, cheap dopamine, infinite AI-generated content, hyper-realistic video games, and the metaverse. This serves a dual purpose. It distracts the population from their economic irrelevance, and it keeps them docile. It is the Matrix without the battery pods. We aren't needed for energy. We are just being kept in a holding pattern because the system doesn't know what else to do with us. The transition to this state will be volatile. You cannot tell millions of accountants, truckers, artists, and coders that they are obsolete without triggering social unrest. We will see the rise of Luddite movements, anti-AI terrorism, and radical political shifts as people grasp for any leader who promises to turn back the clock. But the technology is not political, it is inevitable, and the genie does not go back in the bottle. The question is not how to stop it, but how to live in a world where human labor is no longer the currency of survival. If the middle class is dying and the working class is becoming the useless class, who wins? This brings us to the final and perhaps most disturbing realization. We are drifting away from capitalism entirely and entering a new era of techno-feudalism. In a traditional capitalist market, the premise was always that anyone can start a business. If you have a better idea or a better product, you can compete. But the AI economy is not built on that leveling field. The AI economy is built on compute. To run these powerful autonomous agents, to train the models that will run the world, you need massive data centers, exabytes of proprietary data, and billions of dollars in high-end GPUs. This infrastructure is owned by a tiny oligarchy of companies: Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, and perhaps one or two others. These are not just companies anymore, they are the feudal lords of the digital realm. Everyone else, startups, governments, and individuals, are merely serfs renting land on their estate. Think about it. If you start an AI company today, you are likely using OpenAI's API, owned by Microsoft, or running on AWS, Amazon, or using Google Cloud. You are paying a tax to the lords for the privilege of existing in the economy. You are not building equity, you are paying rent. The more successful you become, the more rent you pay. And if you ever become a threat to the Lord, they can simply cut off your access to the intelligence. They can deplatform your business with a single line of code. This is Techno-Feudalism. The market is replaced by the fiefdom. The dream of the open internet, a decentralized place of freedom, is dead. It is being paved over by walled gardens, where the rules are set by terms of service agreements that no one reads but everyone must obey. The wealth concentration we are about to witness will make the Gilded Age look like a socialist utopia. In the past, a tycoon like Rockefeller had to employ hundreds of thousands of people to maintain his empire, meaning that wealth trickled down in the form of wages. In the techno-feudal age, a $1 trillion valuation can be maintained by a few thousand engineers and a warehouse of servers. The wealth does not trickle down, it circulates in a closed loop at the very top. The terrifying reality of AI agents is that they act as the enforcers of the platform to police content and manage transactions. We are building a world where the economy is an automated extraction machine, funneling value from the many to the few without the friction of human morality or human error. So, where does that leave us? We are standing at the crossroads of the greatest economic transformation in human history. The Terminator scenario was a comfortable distraction because it gave us a villain we could shoot, but the reality is much harder to fight. How do you rebel against efficiency, and how do you fight against a system that offers you cheap goods and endless entertainment in exchange for your autonomy? The death of the middle-class economy is not a possibility, but a mathematical certainty under the current trajectory of AI development. The email class is walking dead. They just haven't looked down to see the cliff edge yet. The future belongs to those who own the agents, and for the rest of us, the challenge will be how to find meaning and survival in a world that has engineered us out of the loop. The robots aren't coming to kill us, they are coming to ignore us, and that might be a fate far worse. The future isn't coming anymore, it's being installed. You can either be a user of the new system or a product of it. The choice is yours. Hit that subscribe button to keep your eyes open, and I'll catch you on the other side.